The Concordia softball team, your 2022 regular season and now NAC tournament champions, and for the third time in program history, are headed to the NCAA tournament. Welcome to our Concordia softball special. Matt Menzel being joined up first by catcher Claudia Utz, named a first-team all-conference honoree for a second consecutive year. And Claudia, let's start with that honor and what that means to you to be recognized by the conference as a first-teamer for a second straight season.
It's awesome just being able to fill the role on my team as catcher and work with our amazing pitching staff and just be in like kind of a supporting role for the team in general is awesome.
What a season it has been. The Falcons 34 victories, 4 defeats overall after going 20-3 in conference play, good for first place. And as mentioned, back in the NCAA tournament, first time since 2009. When you look at your offensive totals and you lead the NAC, 50 RBIs, that's a program record. RBIs in a single season, hit by pitches 10 times, 5th in doubles, also 7th in home runs. You've had 16 multi-hit performances. Have you been pleased so far this season with how you perform at the plate?
I mean, I feel like I'm probably my harshest critic on myself. I feel like when you have that expectation of producing a lot of RBIs, like every game, you're like, okay, let's score a run, or okay, let's do this. Because like obviously it's important. You got to score runs to win games. Maybe not a lot because our pitchers kind of shut everyone down. But I think I was okay with my performance this season. I think it was hard when our season was kind of broken up a lot this year. Like in Florida. After Florida, we didn't play for like a month, and it was hard to get back into the swing of games and everything. And then just with weather, I think inconsistencies played a big role, and we did a really good job of, as a team, not letting them bother us and still like doing our best.
And finally, the weather taking a turn for the best. You talk about that pitching combo, and whether it be Gina Fallowell, Nikki Becker, you've worked with them over the last number of years. Where's that comfort level working with those two pitchers for you?
I mean, it's just kind of like second nature at this point now. I catch them like every day during like the beginning of the spring season. It's just the three of us and then some of our other pitchers and catchers in the Catalyst, and we kind of just do our own thing, and then we go join the rest of our defense inside. And like Gina and I are very comfortable. Like before I was even catching for Concordia, like we were throwing into each other all summer when we coached together. And I think there's a level of trust definitely, and just we're very comfortable. Like I don't even have to like look when they throw a pitch because I know where it's gonna go. Basically, like we just know each other that well.
With Gina, is there one pitching performance that stands out among the rest that you've caught that you go, man, she was just on this day?
Well, I would say championship game against MSOE, like her rise ball is unlike it had been all season. I'd say her rise ball is definitely her best pitch, but she also has her curveball too. That when her rise ball may be a little flat and like people may be jumping on it, her curveball you can throw it just to throw them off, and they really don't know what to do with it.
And it's so fitting that she was able to end that game with a strikeout. Again, the exclamation point on that NAC tournament championship victory. You had 3 home runs, 7 RBIs, and a doubleheader sweep of Benedictine. That was played in Glendale, Wisconsin back on May 1st. Falcons won the regular season championship with that doubleheader sweep. Your memories from that night, I mean, you were just on against Benedictine pitching.
Yeah, it was definitely a great feeling to be able to come out on senior night and take that first game against Benny. Obviously, that's when we clinched, I think, and that was just awesome to be able to do that for our seniors, and then to also take game 2 just to end senior night on such a high note and just kind of send Benny home was
absolutely
awesome.
And hopefully more memories to come coming up in Cleveland, Ohio with the NCAA tournament. But is there one game for you, whether it be what you did or what the team did, that stands out among the rest so far from this season that you say, hey, that's what defines what this season's been all about?
So I would say I think back to one of our games in Florida. North Central when we played them down there. It was a really close game. I don't remember exactly if it went into extras or not, but I think that was definitely not our first game of the day. And it was hot, and we weren't used to that yet, and I think we just fought out a really good game, and we won a walk-off pass ball. So it was just an awesome game in general. It was a game all played by both sides.
And when you look at this team, looking at the roster going into the season, and certainly the season's progressed, it's a very experienced, loaded squad. But how much closer has this team gotten when you look at the obstacles you guys have overcome this season? You've only had 4 home games all year for a variety of reasons. You've been on the bus nonstop, going here, there, everywhere. How much closer is this team with all you guys have overcome this season?
Yeah, it's put us through a lot, and I definitely think all the hours on the bus, even when a lot of it might be spent sleeping or doing homework, there's definitely a lot of bonding, whether it's sitting in the catalyst waiting for it to stop raining or sitting in the bus waiting for it to stop raining or on the way somewhere. I think we're all very close, and I think we all have an understanding of what we want to do this weekend and just to keep on going.
To wrap it all up, what are you most excited about? What are you most looking forward to about this upcoming weekend in Ohio?
I would just say taking care of business, going on a business trip, as we like to call it, and taking home the regional.
Well, all the best, Claudia. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Being joined by pitcher Gina Fallowell. Gina, on a typical game day, what's your routine? What's your game day prep?
Well, for most of our games have been away, so I'll go on to that type of game ready type of day. If I have class, I'll just go through my day, and then before the games, riding the bus, looking at pitch charts of the teams from previous years to look at batters and how we want to throw to certain hitters. And then once I get to the field, I like to watch my team hit because I haven't been doing pregame hitting recently. And then once we get ready to go do our warm-up, we do our plyos, and then play catch, and then I go start my warm-up in the bullpen.
This past weekend, the NAC tournament schedule, the format was changed thanks to weather. What a surprise here in the spring. It seems like weather's been a big story on and off. Does that mess at all with your pregame routine where you think you might be playing Friday and up all of a sudden now you're not playing until Saturday? Maybe the game gets moved back a couple hours. Does that mess with you at all?
In the beginning of the season, it was a little like, come on, I just want to play. But now we're kind of used to it, so I was just like, well, once we get going, we're going. So I'll be ready when it's time.
Looking at your resume now, a 3-time first-team All-Conference honoree. Back in 2019, the NAC Newcomer of the Year. In 2021, the NAC North Division Pitcher of the Year. And now this year, the NAC Pitcher of the Year. When you think about all those accolades, what do those mean to you?
It doesn't mean as much to me as getting the W with my team. If it came down to me getting all those awards or my team winning a national championship, I would take the national championship over anything.
So do you at all, at least going into a season, say, hey, I have a goal of being the NAC Pitcher of the Year, or is that not something you even think about?
It's always a goal that I'm striving for, but I would always, like I said, rather my team succeed than myself alone.
For fans that check out the softball record book at CUWFalcons.com, when it comes to pitching, whether it be a single game, a single season, throughout a career, your name is all over the record book, and you've set so many records in your time so far as a Falcon. Is there one or two accomplishments among those records that are maybe more special than the other?
I think the breaking the strikeout record was kind of cool.
And you average it's crazy, over 10 strikeouts a game. So far this year, 20 victories, couple of defeats. You lead the entire nation in Division III with a 0.45 ERA, 10-plus strikeouts 14 times. Did you do anything differently, at least during the offseason in preparation for this year, or did you was it business as usual in preparation? Kind
of business as usual. I think summer of 2020 and like that winter break time, I did more than I did this past year. I don't know why. I just kind of did. So this year was just a little bit more laid back than the year before, but I think I was still prepared. I'm
guessing when I read off those numbers, you're pretty pleased with how the season's progressed?
Yes.
So when you look at, I guess, just the way your season's played out, in a particular outing, early on in the game, maybe first inning, second inning, do you know when your stuff is like, hey, I have my A-plus stuff today versus, I'm a little off today, I got to find a little, other ways to get creative? Do you know early on what kind of day it might be?
Pretty much, yeah. Usually in my warm-up, I know what kind of day it's going to be. If, like against MSOE and Benedictine this weekend, my warm-ups were great, and I just knew it was going to be two great games. previous games I've had warm-ups where like my rise ball wasn't breaking, so I was like, well, I'll have to go to a different pitch today.
Thought it was fitting that the NAC championship ended with you striking out an MSOE batter. Just again, the way the season's gone with pitching, with the offense, backing up with the 5 runs. But what was that feeling? What was the emotion getting that 21st, that final out, and knowing that this team has now gotten over that hump and has won the NAC tournament?
It was very exciting. We've been waiting 4 years, I guess, technically, with 2020 to get here. So just being at this point is just a great feeling.
You and I have talked about this in the past, but you face a team like Benedictine one day, MSOE the next, and you've seen them already. Is there, I don't know if it's comfort the right word, but certainly is there a comfort maybe knowing the opponent, knowing a team that you've seen already before, you've had maybe success against, knowing what maybe to expect?
Yeah, there's some comfort, and then there's also some nerves because then they've seen me just as much as I've seen them, so they know what to look for and to wait to hit.
Well, I was going to ask you, do you get nervous still? You go out there in the circle. I mean, you've been dominant throughout your time. Do you get nervous before games?
Not really. Occasionally, I'll have like a little bit of a shaky hand, and then after the first inning, I'll go in the dugout and eat a snack, and then I'm good.
What's your go-to snack?
It depends what we have. This weekend was Skinny Pop.
Ooh, not a bad choice.
No.
Does your mindset change at all as the game goes on when you get that kind of run support that your offense is able to give you often? And again, the case was this past weekend, 5 runs in both those games. Does that help mindset-wise?
Definitely. It takes a little bit of weight off my shoulders, and I can relax. And then if I give up a couple hits or a couple runs, then it's not as stressful.
Finally, how do you go about preparing now this weekend in Cleveland, Ohio? You could potentially face 3 different teams you haven't seen before. How do you prepare for a team that maybe you don't know a ton about?
Well, I think we'll look at some stats online and then just try to play our game. As long as we be ourselves, I think we'll succeed.
All right. Gina, thanks a lot for your time. All the best this weekend in Cleveland.
Thank you.
Being joined by Kelsey Bowling, and you transferred to Concordia a few years ago from Highland Community College. What brought you to Concordia?
I had connections here with one of our pitchers, Nikki Becker. I've grown up with her, basically. So I knew she came here, and I knew she loved it here. And then I gained a relationship with Coach Crook, and I just found it to be almost the perfect fit for me, knowing that I'd be able to come in and probably play shortstop because they graduated the shortstop the year before. And just it kind of just fit right into my life. And, that's kind of why I decided to come here.
Outside of Nikki, when you look at this roster, there's a Illinois flavor. A lot of Illinois softball players have come this route to play with Concordia. Did you know of a number of these players outside of playing with Nikki? Did you maybe know about some of them ahead of time, or has this all been new for you coming in?
I would say that I didn't really know very many of them because I grew up in the northwest side of Illinois, and all of our Illinois people almost seem to be like the Chicago surrounding area, the northeast side of Illinois. So I actually didn't know very many people. I knew Gabby, who's from Wisconsin, who's from northwest Wisconsin. That's really pretty much it. I mean, I came in fresh, not knowing very many people, but having Nikki and Gabby obviously helped that transition as well.
Was that neat, though, for this team with all the Illinois connections, or at least the Illinois background, to win the NAC tournament championship in the land of Lincoln?
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, it's obviously closer to my family a little bit. It's still a far drive because, like I said, I'm on the west side, but it was nice to get everyone's families there. I mean, Gina had like a huge showing, Claudia the same. Like, everyone's families were so close. Not everyone's, obviously, but a lot of people's families were so close that we did get to have that fan base there, and you could really feel the support from everyone, which was really awesome.
Last year, the Falcons won the NAC North Division regular season championship, just missed out on the North Division tournament championship. This year, you guys get over that hump, you win the NAC tournament. In your opinion, being on both teams, what was the difference this year? How are you guys able to take that next step and win the NAC tournament?
I just think this year we came in really hungry. Last year it was devastating to end up losing in that tournament because we were the 1 seed, and this year we knew everybody would be coming for us just the same. Every game was against us was their Super Bowl. So we were really hungry, and we knew that we had to shut everything down as soon as we could. So that I would say is the difference from last year to this year. Just feeling that loss last year really pushed us to drive that win to, yeah.
And you're heating up at the plate at the right time. The last 4 games, for instance, you look at your numbers, and you've recorded 8 hits in that time, 2 hits per. You're seeing the ball really well. What adjustments have you made at the plate as the season's progressed?
Yeah, so this season hasn't been my favorite season for myself, and that's totally fine because it's been my favorite season for my team.
Sure.
So I have recently been in the mindset of it's going to be what it's going to be, and I can't dwell on anything anymore. And just because it's my last season, it doesn't matter. I just got to go up there and try to produce for my team in some way, put the ball in play, maybe get a hit, maybe get a walk. Who cares?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, it's going to be what it's going to be, and I can't change anything. I can't predict the future. So that's kind of my mindset going in right now, and it's been working, and I'm going with that for now.
That's what I was going to say. It's a great, healthy mindset. When you look at games, what games stand out to you that either you played well or the team played well from this season?
Looking back, I would say obviously every game, like every big game, aka like our doubleheaders against Aurora, MSOE, even our doubleheader against Benny. Obviously, we are the 4 top teams in our conference, so every game against them is crucial. Every game against them is important. And although we dropped one to MSOE, we still played well. We still performed. We lost that game 1-0. You know, we couldn't, like, there just wasn't, something just wasn't working, but we went over it, and we ended up beating them in the last game of their season. So I would say those double headers, we all played really well. I mean, beating Aurora in extras in the first game, that was really fun, and I was so happy for Meg to hit that walk-off. That was amazing. Like, that was so much fun. But those 4 doubleheaders in the regular, or 3 doubleheaders in the regular season were probably pretty important. And then, of course, the final 2 games against Benny and MSOE, you could really feel the energy between everyone. Just the whole team, the energy was just amazing. There were little nerves I could feel on the first day against Benny, kind of because we were sitting around and, like, are we going to play?
Yeah.
But on Championship Sunday, we were locked in. You could totally tell, like, it was amazing.
Was there a different intensity regular season versus the NAC tournament, or was it more business as usual? Did it feel different?
I would say it was close to business as usual. We're used to winning. You know, we know that when we walk out on that field, we have a good shot because of what we've done in the past. And yes, there were a few, I would say, nerves, but as soon as we step out onto that field, you know, they go away because we're in our comfort zone. We're doing what we love. We're doing what we know we can do well. So that's what I would say about the whole difference.
You know, we've talked throughout this program so far about the experience on this team and how close this team is. I want to get your opinion. How well have the newcomers fit in? You already had a good nucleus coming back from last year. How have the newcomers fit in?
Yeah, our freshmen or the new players have fit in so well. I mean, it's basically like you're just grandfathered into this experience. Obviously, we've had 2 freshmen, Jess and Meg, that have joined our starting lineup, and they have performed like no other. I've been amazed. I'm like, I don't know if I could have done that as a freshman, coming into a D3 conference like that. And it's just been crazy to watch them grow as players and grow as people. And then obviously our other freshmen that aren't in the starting lineup, they have also worked their butts off. Some get to run in the games, pinch run, which is really nice, and they get to make the most of that opportunity. Some get pinch hits sometimes. And they've just all taken their role as it is, and they've taken it well, and they love being on this team because I hope they love being on this team because it's a really fun group. We all love each other. We all are weird together. We all are, very comfortable with one another. Sometimes I'd say a little too much, but yeah, I really hope this experience has been as good as it has been for me for them as well.
And from what I understand, even though you're a senior, you're not necessarily done with this program after this season.
Yeah. So I have taken the opportunity to be the graduate assistant coach for next year, which I'm really excited about because I don't have to give everything up right away. That is like the thing. I have loved softball my entire life. I've been so passionate about it. And now I have to get rid of the playing aspect of it, but I don't quite have to give up the atmosphere, the group sense of it, and I still get to be around my friends, obviously in a coaching position instead of a player position.
Finally, what are you most looking forward to in the here and now about this upcoming weekend in Cleveland, Ohio?
I'm just ready for the experience. I am so excited. I mean, we get a long bus ride. It feels like we are, D1 athletes taking this long bus ride to a game. It's everything I've ever dreamed of. I've personally never won anything. Like, my teams have never won anything. So winning this, my final year, was just really emotional for me. And I am so excited to go dancing on the national stage. And I hope we come out with 3 wins.
Absolutely. Kelsey, thanks a lot for your time. All the best this weekend.
Thank you.
Being joined by Jess Posinski as we continue our softball special. They prepare for the NCAA tournament this weekend in Cleveland, Ohio. And she was named the NAC Freshman of the Year this week. How special is it being named the top freshman in this conference this season?
I really wish I could explain it to you. I was very, very surprised. Like we were just talking about for exams, I got out of a final yesterday, and I had so many texts from my teammates and coaches just congratulating me, and it was just the best feeling ever. It was definitely super, super cool for this to be my first season, and to be named the Freshman of the Year is just something that I was not expecting whatsoever. So I was just planning on coming out, doing the best I can for the team, and just to have this opportunity to have that title is just absolutely amazing.
So for you, what was the biggest adjustment you had to make playing high school softball to college softball?
Biggest adjustment probably was in the postseason or off season, my bad, with working out and doing all those things outside of softball. For high school softball, we definitely didn't have that off time with the team or on your own and things like that. So when I came in during the fall and we had all these team workouts and things that we had to do outside by ourselves, it was definitely an adjustment that I had to make. But I knew that it was going to make me prepared for the season and just to do the best I can. It was just preparing me for the intensity of college softball.
Like your sister, a former Falcon, you put up some, again, great offensive numbers in half so far this season, including the home runs. Got to bring up the home runs, the 13, which currently is tops in the NAC. 5th nationally is the program's single-season record now. Are there 1 or 2 home runs that stand out among the rest?
Yes. I will never forget my first collegiate home run, actually. That was down in Florida. It was absolutely a rocket. I have never hit a home run that has felt like that before. It was absolutely amazing. I squared up on it perfectly. It was just one of those balls where you will never forget the feeling of the ball coming off of your bat. So it was definitely one I will never forget.
Now, for most of the 13 home runs, did you know they were going out, or were there a couple surprises in there?
Yes, definitely some surprises. My teammates will make fun of me when I say that some feel better than others, but definitely some were surprises to me. I would be running first base, and I'd be sprinting. Like, my teammates would make fun of me because I sprint around all the bases, but that's really because I didn't know that it was going to go over. So I'll be sprinting to first base, running first base hard, and then I'll look at the ump and he'll do the home run finger, and I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? Like, there were definitely some surprises in there for sure.
Your batting average right now as we sit here is .426. You've had hits in 33 out of 38 games played, 45 RBIs, 50 runs scored. Lead the conference with 23 walks, which I think is just remarkable. You have the home run hitting power, but also teams will pitch around you or walk you, or you'll take a walk. What is your typical plate approach?
Plate approach, definitely I think halfway through the season when I got moved to the leadoff position, I definitely had to adjust that.
it's just I try to go up to the plate, trying to see as many pitches as possible, trying to figure out what the pitcher's pattern is, what the ump's zone is. Definitely trying to see as many pitches as possible to just try to pass that information on to my teammates. But I'm just trying to produce, trying to get on base, trying to get something started for the team when that happens. I'm just trying to do what I can do.
As I've asked some of your teammates prior to you coming on, is there one game for you that you stand out, or one or two games you point at and go, regardless of what was on the line, that game, like, as of right now, is a highlight of this season for you?
Oh, gosh. I can't even – it's very hard for me to pick one. But I probably will say the Edgewood game is probably personally one of the best games for me, or doubleheaders for me. Just having those – I'm pretty sure there were 2 home runs, and I also hit a grand slam during that doubleheader. Definitely one of the better days for me. Just I was seeing the ball really, really well that day, and the energy from my team was absolutely wonderful. Rounding the bases and coming home to some of the best teammates that I've ever had, and just coming into the dugout with everybody screaming, hugging me. Like, it's one of the best feelings ever, so I will definitely never forget that doubleheader against Edgewood.
Certainly things this past weekend got a little bit more tight or anxious, if you will, with all of a sudden the double elimination format becoming a single elimination format thanks to Mother Nature. You guys get by Benedictine. You get into Sunday, the championship against MSOE. What was the mood in that dugout? How anxious were you guys going into that championship game?
I don't really think we were that anxious. I think we were just excited to play. I think we were ready to take that championship title and just to come out and play our game. I definitely think that, yes, there could have been some nerves, but it was definitely overcome by all the excitement that we were feeling in that dugout that day.
Did it help? Does it help when you look at the way the schedule's played out? You guys only had 4 home games, 2 doubleheaders at home all year. Otherwise, you had homes away from home, if you will. Does that help at all, like in the NAC tournament where you're playing an MSOE team, but it's in Montgomery, Illinois, where all of a sudden, for you guys, it's like business as usual. It's become the new norm where you've made many different fields your quote-unquote home.
Yes, definitely. I think we've adjusted our energy, especially when we are away, just because we're so used to it and not having those home games. I definitely think we come out ready to play no matter where we are. And I think, we have to adjust to like field conditions and everything like that when we aren't home. But we have definitely become adapted to being away and just taking care of business no matter where we are.
Now, I heard this past weekend the bus rides were wild in a variety of ways. We won't get into that, but how wild was the bus ride coming home on Sunday after having won the NAC Tournament Championship?
It was definitely wild to begin with. Just the energy. We were playing music. We were throwing up the trophy, and just we were very, very excited. But then after like 30 minutes or so, the realization of finals sunk in, and we were like, oh, we should probably study a little bit. So I definitely did some studying on the way back, but the energy was just absolutely insane, and we were just very, very excited that we came out and played our best game, and it was awesome.
Have you ever been to Cleveland, Ohio?
I have not.
No.
Actually, I have not. So no matter how many travel tournaments I've gone to, I've never been to Cleveland. So what
are you most looking forward to when you just think about the opportunity that's at hand for the Falcons about this upcoming weekend?
I'm ready to play. I'm just super, super excited to see some really good competition and to be out there with my team and having that time together. I'm really, really excited for that. And without school being a stressor, it's definitely going to be a lot more laid back. We'll have a lot more time together as a team just to make some more memories before we go home for summer. And I'm really, really excited to play the game that I love with the girls that I love. So,
well, best of luck this weekend. Jess, thanks for your time.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
Now being joined by the all-time winningest coach in Concordia softball program history, back for his 23rd season, Steve Crook. He, along with his coaching staff, the NAC Coaching Staff of the Year, as announced the other day by the conference. And Coach, thanks for your time. How do you go about, to date, obviously more games to come, but how do you summarize this 2022 season?
Matt, you and I have talked a lot of years about some of these things. There's no season that's ever the way you draw it up. We had some things that happened this year that I just couldn't even, imagine happening. A fence blow off on the way down to the NAC tournament. We had a bus accident, and everybody remains safe. I think the approach has to be trust in your kids, have great coaches, and each week you have to adapt. We're very blessed to have an upperclassmen group that works hard all the time. We've seeked their input. I hope they feel valued with that input. And I think that's a very, very important thing to a successful program. And always ready to make sure that we're meeting the goals of that next day, because anything beyond that, is basically looking into trouble, and you have to stay that focused.
What's funny, you bring that up because my next question was going to be about the obstacles, the adversity this team has overcome, and one of them, you talk about the fence. Only getting 4 home games, 2 dates here at Catalyst Park, otherwise it's a home away from home. How has this team been able to handle everything that's been thrown at them?
I do think that veteran mindset is huge. I know earlier today you had the chance to talk to some of our leaders. Leadership we talk about all the time is not necessarily a title. It's not a position. It's an opportunity. And when we get those chances, you have to trust in those players that you've put in that position. And we're constantly trying to empower the right young ladies to lead. And I've used the phrase, make sure we're pushing in the right direction. Conversations on the side, in the weight room, in the off season. We have to nudge, and we talk about that being an important thing of moving forward. Yeah, it was not an ideal year being on the road and spending a lot of time doing things we didn't think we had to do. But I sure hope as a coaching staff, I kept telling them those are obstacles that we have to forget and look for the opportunities.
It doesn't necessarily have to be the championship wins, but is there a game or two that you would say, as of now, probably best defined this season?
Several. I mean, you look at our top half of our conference, and I would argue that we are as good as any conference in the country. We will certainly find that out. I mean, the proof is in the action, right? The results. But early on, having the schedule against MSUE and Aurora, taking 3 of 4, Aurora has always been a very, very tough team for us. And I thought that we beat them in a pitcher's duel, and then we beat them by scoring runs. And we did the same thing later in the year to Benedictine. And when you look at that ability to do that, our pitchers are dominant. And there's so often that 3-4 runs is just all we need for either one of our starting pitchers. So when we have to be put in that spot to do that, to score runs, like we did, and I believe that we're a balanced team. I think we call a great game behind the dish. I think our defense supports us very well. I think we hit at a very successful rate, and obviously we all know what we can do in the circle.
You look back at this past weekend, the NAC championship wins against both Benedictine and MSUE for the title, a couple of 5-0 victories. You kind of touched on it, but again, you got the run support, you have the pitching. When you look at those 2 wins, overwhelmingly, what were the differences in those W's?
The format, I would always say, it favors a team that has multiple pitchers. I still hold to that, even though the way this thing shook itself out. The confidence that we have and across the board of doing that, going into a tournament and telling our team that no matter what the circumstances are. I'll also tell you that there have been times this year where we've had players driving from clinicals, driving from class that are starters, where we have depended on our depth, and our depth has been very, very good. I think that confidence in that depth and the ability to do that leads to game day confidence for players who are ready to go. I do think that when you have a very successful and strong pitching performance, it does give you a lot of comfort. But our hitters made great adjustments all game, and I was really impressed with that part of it too.
Of course, as you mentioned, from a pitching standpoint, we have that 1-2 combo with Gina Followell, Nikki Becker, that experience. Gina be named the NAC Pitcher of the Year after she was the North Division Pitcher of the Year a season ago. How special of an athlete is she?
Matt, it's something that people say far too often, and I will admit that, but I always talk about how quality of people first. Ability can't really shine daily unless you have the personality to work hard, to be a great teammate. I think sometimes, really dominant players get lost in their own way, get caught up in those things. They start looking at the wrong things. They start to become different people. Our best players don't do that. And certainly Gina is one of those. She continues to develop. And that has been a goal, I think, that Coach Steele and Gina and our staff sets of saying, every year let's come back and be better. And I will tell you that if you watch very closely in some games where the adjustments that were made this year by Gina and Claudia or Nikki and Claudia throughout a game, those are things that we had not done in the past. We would dominate with maybe our pitches, we made adjustments that were very, very impressive, and really truly learning how to pitch. But again, I know I expand that circle all the time when we talk about it. Gina is very special. I do believe that position groups, teams, they are what makes things special, right?
You had Jess Posinski was named the NAC Freshman of the Year. You obviously hope, but did you expect her to have the immediate impact she has had on this team here this spring?
Well, we knew she was a pretty special player. And in large part, you know, her older sister obviously played here. The talent is very deep in that family. Jess doesn't just have the ability, she has the mindset that she wants to get better every day. And you realize real quickly, I don't care what the leap is from what travel organization to college, it's big. It's big because there's days when practices are a lot longer or more intense and want people to do different things and 5:30 a.m. lifts. Jess has a really strong ability to roll with all of that. She's a really great personality. We enjoy who she is. For a freshman, that takes a lot of maturity to step in and doing what she's doing. But she also, you know, leading by example and being quiet as a freshman in many ways, that's kind of the job, and Jess does that really well.
Look at some of the other accolades, and certainly everybody on this team worthy of an accolade or two, but Claudia Utz, Taylor Cuskey were both named All-Conference. Kelsey Bowling, this week's NAC Position Player of the Week. What have they meant to the success of this team?
Well, I mean, we probably don't talk enough about our seniors. You know, Kelsey Bowling is a transfer, and she is one of those. We talk about kids who are winners. Kelsey Bowling's a winner. Every day we go out there, we look at her, and we go, well, that's confidence in the center. Taylor Cuskey is a phenomenal work ethic. She has tremendous talent. She's been one of those players that's hit balls at people like through her career like no other. But she just keeps after it. A couple of other, you know, Chris Cortez and some other players that maybe don't get the limelight, but they lead by example, and that senior crew in particular has been very, very, very special. And I'm only mentioning a small part of the senior crew because a lot of them are coming back. You know, Nikki and Gina are planning to come back for next year, which is super exciting. We wish we could find extra years for other players, but, you know, that's something that we're going to be very appreciative of.
As Kelsey told us, you get her back as a GA come next year. I want you to brag, though, about your coaching staff for a second because they were named, like you, the coaching staff of the year by the conference, what they've meant to this team's success.
We're very fortunate. You know, it really does start with I'm going to start with something that maybe you're surprised at, but the young coaches that we've had over the years in our program who continue to stay involved. And there are years we've had 3 or 4 former players that are helping out. And just, hey, I'll come to practice and do what we can. And if I start naming those names, I'm going to forget somebody. But our 2 young assistant coaches, Coach Grimm and Coach Z, are doing some phenomenal things. And they relate to the players. They offer good player-type insight. They were both very successful college players. Jeff Hanik is one of those people that you don't know because he's an off-campus person. But Jeff is a tremendous, tremendous coach. And we actually thrown him through Coach Steele. They coached together at the high school level. And he's running our outfield and has done a phenomenal job. And I believe through the NAC tournament, we had no errors in our outfield throughout the season, and Jeff's a big part of that. And obviously, you have to finish with Dr. Steele. He's a great coach and a great man, and we're very blessed to have him. He commits a lot of time that people don't understand, a lot more time than many people understand what it takes to do both teaching full-time as a faculty member and working doing this. I mean, final exam week for him has been challenging. But his blend of understanding our mission and his ability to be a great pitching coach has been really, truly a blessing to our program.
This next question may not be fair per se, but how would you compare this team? How do they compare or differ from the 2006-2009 teams that also qualified for the NCAA tournament?
Well, the other 2 had Angie Steffen, so, you know, we don't have maybe all that loose, goosey, silly, you know, she brought a different level of gangster gear and all kinds of fun stuff that she used to throw out to our players when they made great defensive plays. You know, I would say that in many ways this team is more accomplished coming into a season. Those teams had to grind towards the season's end to get in. Much like those teams, though, there was some special pitching depth on those teams. Different. You know, the game's changed a lot, but the pitching depth was really consistent at that point. I think one thing that surprised us with this team is the power that we have. And I think it's always hard to compare, especially since it's been so long. But consistency through the years of smart young ladies who came here for the right reasons, who buy in, depth at positions that are key positions, and players willing to take roles. I think those are all consistent with all three of those.
How do you go about preparing for a tournament? You're seeing three teams you have not seen in the past. Do you try to look at stats? Do you try to find video? How do you go about preparing for what you may see this weekend?
You know, I'm going to talk very little about certain skill sets of our players on this interview because I always look and see what coaches say on their postseason. And I watched a bunch of videos last night. It's not like basketball or football where you have the huddle film to look at. You really are searching. A lot of spray charts, a lot of comparative games. So you'll look back to Florida to see who's played who. You'll look at things that, statistically we will try to capitalize on where we're going to be, certain depths and certain spots, infield and outfield. The hardest part about that is, you could practice and prepare for one team, and then you're going to have to figure that out without a day of practice. So coaching to a team's strength is where we want to live. You also, we talked about this the first day. There were two things we talked about, and one is the coaches, kind of something that's our one of our missions and our goals that we keep in that room. The second thing is we talk about scouting ourselves every day. If you were playing us, what would you do? And how we prepare for that. And I think that's definitely in the mindset of how we approach each day.
To wrap it up, as you prepare to head to Cleveland, obviously it's going to be a bigger stage, greater stakes now, the NCAA tournament upon us. You obviously have the experience going back a number of years of being in the NCAA tournament. So maybe what's the message you have for your team? How do you get them mentally ready for, obviously it's still playing softball, but now a little more to this. It's the next step in this process, this journey that started a number of years ago.
We always start with a few very, very basic things, and we're going to go on that field and we're going to get some reps and get to know that field as well as we possibly can. But we're going to talk about that even during that 1 hour practice opportunity, there are going to be some things that happen, right? A ground ball, it doesn't go our way, or we just don't have maybe the volume of communication that we need or desire, but everything's going to be about not what happens, but how we respond. Not everything is going to go our way. That's certainly a mantra that we talk about, but it's what we do with the next one. And so when we talk about, we stay grounded in who we are, make sure that we represent the university and all the things that we truly believe in extremely well, and let those other things take care of it. We've prepared. We've worked hard. They're ready. And I said this the other day, I feel like it's been a great honor to be in this spot. I've been hoping and praying for this shot for this group of young ladies. There's been one or two other really successful teams that didn't have this opportunity in their cycle of 4 years. But by absolutely no measure are we, looking at this. We feel very proud of where we're at and very confident with who we are.
Well, Coach, thanks a lot for your time.
Appreciate it, Matt.
Best of luck this weekend in Cleveland, Ohio. We're going to be cheering for the Falcons. And, again, it all begins Friday, the NCAA tournament, Roanoke, the opponent, 3:30 Central Time for that first matchup coming up on Friday. We thank you for watching our softball special. All the best to the Falcons in Cleveland, Ohio. And, again, be sure to stay tuned to CUWFalcons.com for more coverage from Cleveland NCAA tournament this weekend. Got CUWFalcons.com.